the Olympics is going on right now.
Yeah.
So, USA and Serbia, they had a little tight back and forth game. What do you make of it?
There's a lot of interesting things that I'm taking away from this USA Olympics team. It's interesting that Tatum is getting snubbed and not getting any play time. I don't know if it's Kerr has some bitter rivalry with him since they had that little Celtics Warriors finals back in the day, and I don't know if it's just some pity that he has towards him, but yeah, Tatum can't get on the floor, and I feel like Tatum's having a very interesting end to the season. They win the NBA championship. He loses Eastern Conference Finals. He loses, I mean, the MVP, sorry, the Eastern Conference Finals MVP, and he loses the Finals MVP to Jaylen Brown. Then he comes to USA Basketball, and he's getting DNPs. Um, I don't know what this will do to him mentally. I definitely think it will affect his confidence a tad, but or maybe it will be the other way. It will inspire him. Um, so we'll see. That's one thing I'm taking from it. Another thing I'm taking from it is Steph and LeBron. Um, Looking at those two, it's really when you look at this team right now, it's a team that has that next generation of stars, like outside of well, still LeBron because LeBron's in multiple generations, but like that LeBron, Steph, KD, and others era of superstars, right? So we're looking at that era of NBA superstars, and we're seeing who the alphas really are. We saw briefly in that one game where KD went off, right? But when it comes to this pressurized moment in the game against Serbia, when they're going up against a guy like Jokic, that's like the best player in the NBA, and they face some adversity, who are the two players that stepped up? One, Stephen Curry, and then two, in the clutch, I would say LeBron was very impactful. It almost seemed like LeBron and Curry, one or the other couldn't come off the floor, or it would be bad for the USA team. So that's been quite interesting to see who the alphas really are in this generation. Especially seeing someone like Tatum, that just won the NBA championship. You would think he would be in this conversation, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be Tatum's time anytime soon.
Yeah, I think that it's a rotational. I think it's a rotation, like it's a rotation issue.
Hmm.
But I can't put. I know a lot of people are kind of coming at Steve Kerr like, oh, he can't coach, he doesn't know what he's doing. It's a tough spot because obviously you're dealing with a lot of personalities, a lot of egos, and unfortunately, someone has to kind of be the one that sacrifices voluntarily or involuntarily.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, Jason Tatum has been forced into that position.
yeah.
Like I said before previously, I think Stephen Curry and KD are the alphas of this team,
Hmm.
right? To be honest, and I said this on another video, but it ended up getting flagged.
So you
But
said Stephen Curry and KD,
are the alphas of the team, right?
not LeBron.
I don't think LeBron's alpha. I think
Okay.
LeBron is kind of forced into the alpha role because he always has the ball in his hands, right?
Okay.
And like I think the problem with a team like this is just that he doesn't know how to play within the system, like play off the ball and do all that stuff, right? If you have Stephen Curry, why is Stephen Curry running off to the corner and having to be reduced to a catch and shoot player? There's so much more that he can do, right?
Hmm.
And if you look at Kevin Durant, like he barely got minutes in the first half.
Yeah.
And then he had to come in the
He only ended with like what, 9 points, and I was all in the
yeah.
fourth
And
almost.
it's like, but then look at that. Why is he in that position? Who is playing the small forward?
True. So if you're saying if KD's there and LeBron is then like, okay, say this. If KD starts instead of LeBron as it possibly should be, but the case is it's LeBron, so you can't really do that, right? Um, if KD starts instead of LeBron, does this team look better?
Yes, I think they would look a lot more cohesive to be honest, because what will happen is the ball will be flowing more, right? Because, okay, look at Golden State Warrior, look at the Warriors and
Mhm.
how they play. Do
Yeah,
you know for guys to hold on to the ball like this,
no,
the offense is always flowing, it's always moving, right? So now you have LeBron there in your starting lineup. Now you have to play a completely different style. Like
Mhm.
what Steve Kerr's supposed to do, he can't bench this guy because Nike, FIBA, the mainstream media, they'll be on his
Yeah,
case,
yeah,
right?
100%. And I
So
feel like that's why. Remember, I remember when we predicted our starting lineups, we did not take into the effect the LeBron effect, which is the starting lineup is tailored to LeBron is catching shooters. Devin Booker's there as a player to catch and shoot. Drew's starting because of defense, and he will sit in a corner and do his role. And Steph, you have to start him because it's Steph. And then you have an Embiid. He's used to a big like Embiid with him playing with AD, right? So it's very tailored to LeBron James.
yeah, and it's like, is that good for when you have a team that's this talented, right?
Hmm.
You have a team that's this talented, you have this much depth. You want to be able to try different lineups, try different combinations to see who fits well, right? And maybe even get them to run some of the systems that we run in Golden State. Have guys
Yeah.
moving, keep the ball moving, have guys all over the place. That can create some exciting basketball.
Hmm.
But we're not really getting that. So even if this team wins gold, which I do think they're going to win gold because
Yeah. Yeah.
they're just that much more talented and better than everyone else, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that we're seeing the best out of each guy because it's all premised and built around LeBron's skill set.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, like every game, there's always a different guy struggling. So one game, right? Like one game Tatum gets a DNP, another game Embiid gets a DNP, right? Stephen Curry struggles one game. Different guys are having a hard time finding their footing. Kevin Durant, this game against Serbia, he was being underutilized. But it's like him and Tatum are going to always lose out on minutes because LeBron is
Hmm.
going to get the minutes. And even, who was it? There was a blowout. I think it was the first game they had against Serbia. There was a blowout, I think,
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
Jason Tatum got that DNP, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay, it's
That
a
was the one
blowout.
KD went off. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, it's a blowout. You have the game in the bag. I'm always told that this guy's 39 years old. Why isn't he sitting on the bench and letting other guys get burns? Like, why is Jason Tatum
Yeah.
getting
It's
the
true.
DNP?
Yeah. It doesn't make sense. Yeah.
So what is really going on here? Is this that this is about enhancing his legacy and creating content for a documentary so he could get that gold medal at age 39? Because that doesn't sound
Yeah.
like a good story. Yeah, I won gold medal, but I was riding
Well,
the bench.
100% all this is being documented. So,
100%.
yeah, yeah.
And it's like, so like, okay, this is happening. So if I'm Steve Kerr, what do I do? Right?
Play into it. You play
You
into
have
it,
to.
right?
You
Yeah.
have to because this is something that's bigger than you. This is Nike. This is FIBA. Like even someone like
Yeah.
Grant
And you have all
Hill.
those big coaches on the bench for what? Just sitting there, just like they have almost like a script and they're just
Yeah.
following it.
And am I really supposed to believe, right? Am I really supposed to believe that Steve Kerr is a guy who was an NBA champion as a player? He was a
Hmm.
general manager, and he's a head coach that won four rings in what, 4 rings in 6 years.
Hmm.
Am I supposed to believe that now suddenly he gets to the international competition, he has no idea what he's doing?
Right. Yeah.
It's just that like we have to pay attention to patterns, right? Every team that he's on, it's always the same thing. Guys around him will start to struggle. The coach gets
Hmm.
all the blame. Why is that happening
Yeah.
on Team USA? This is the most talented team you can put together.
Yeah. Yeah. Legit. Legit.
So I'm just saying, like, they're a good team. I'm sure they're like, France will put up a good fight. I predict it'll probably be a close game, but USA will end up pulling it out because they're just that much better. But
Yeah.
I don't think that we're seeing the best out of this team. I think that there's other levels that can be unlocked if
Hmm.
they had a more free-flowing system offense where like everyone eats.
Yeah. And then they're just slapping teams as they should be. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's really what's been holding them back. That's been my honest assessment. A lot of people are gonna say, "Oh, I'm being a hater. I'm being this." I'm just watching, and that's just what the eye test is telling me.
Yeah, I think it's a very fair assessment because it definitely seems like there's a bit of it's not as fluid as it should be with the talent on the roster.
No,
And
yeah,
it
and
feels like there's individuals on the court that like are forced to be very restricted in their style of play because they have to adapt to what the script is.
yeah, and if anyone thinks I'm being a hater, right? Here, like you can test this hypothesis. Look at that game against Brazil when he got hurt in the eye. Now, obviously, thankfully, it wasn't anything severe, right? Eye
Hmm.
injuries are nothing to play with,
Yeah,
right? So thankfully, nothing happened to him. But when he was checked out of the game, how did the team look?
much better. Blew them out the water, right?
Yeah, guys were getting it going, right? So it's like guys were getting it going, they were doing their thing because it was free flowing, it was fun,
Yeah,
like guys were
yeah.
involved, they were
The
engaged,
ball,
right?
yeah, they can move the ball around, and Steph could move the ball around and then run around, get to other guys, and then they can play off of it, and then
Yeah, and then I
yeah,
think it was what Anthony Edwards had a breakout game,
hmm, yeah,
right? Because that's just it's not that he was ball hogging or anything, it's just that's just what the offense called for. It's just
yeah,
and that's the thing when you are playing in the free flowing offense, at any moment, anyone can be the guy, right? So that's just like where I'm coming from. So obviously, like I said, I think they'll win gold, but we haven't seen the best out of this team. And I
yeah,
think, unfortunately, I hope this doesn't affect Jason Tatum's confidence, right?
hmm,
I hope he doesn't think that he's not that guy. It's just, unfortunately, like you're just playing the same position as small forward as this guy. So the politics kicks in.
yeah, legit, yeah,
Same thing with
legit.
Kevin Durant. Like he didn't get as much minutes against Serbia as he should have gotten. Right? It's just
Hmm.
it's politics, bro. It's business.
Yeah, yeah. Business is business as usual. That's for sure.
Yeah. And so I just want to end off on this note here, right? So I put a comment, Noah Lyles.
Hmm.
Don't really care too much for the guy, but I know a person who's unlikable when I see them, right? And I think the way he conducts himself and the way he speaks, I think he's really made himself out to be a villain in the sports world,
Hmm.
right? So with all that trash talking and all the stuff that he was doing, he ended up going 200 he in a 200 meter he ended up getting bronze, right? So it's
Yeah,
very interesting to me at the start of the race he's jumping around, he's
yeah.
trying to get the
Even
crowd
even even
involved.
even his press conference after the 100, he's like making jokes and he's like, "We don't all be winning." It's the 200 meter.
Yeah, and it's very classless, you know what I mean? And that's something you need to be doing, especially like in the Olympics when that kind of stuff is uncalled for, right? You got to
Hmm.
know your audience. So he's done a lot to rub people the wrong way, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And so start of the race, everyone's, getting in position, getting ready to compete for the race of their life. You're over there running around, jumping around, hyping up the crowd as
yeah.
though it's a foregone conclusion.
Taking out Yu-Gi-Oh cards and
Yeah.
all that. Yeah.
So now you're running, right? You get bronze, right? Which to me is a loss, right?
Hmm.
I don't think any Olympic athlete, any Olympian is saying, "Oh, I hope I can go to compete in the Olympics and come back with a
Yeah.
bronze medal."
All that is helping your medal count. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all it is.
So you win bronze, and then suddenly, in a span of 30 seconds, you go from running around to being there laid out, collapsing, and having to be escorted out on a wheelchair because of COVID,
Hmm. All of a
right?
sudden, right?
So I put a comment on Bleacher Report's thing, right? And I'll tell you exactly what I said verbatim, okay? All I simply commented was, no excuses, he lost, end of story. Simple, harmless, right? I'm getting all these replies from people basically going at me, right?
Hmm.
And there's one person, his name is Ed Downs. I'm guessing he's like a basketball trainer from looking at his page. He calls himself
Yeah,
Ed Downs Trading,
yeah.
right? This goofy has the nerve to ask me, right? So this goofy asked me, what place did you come in?
Hmm.
So I responded back to him saying, the same place that you did. You scammer trainer. He didn't compete in the race and I didn't compete in the race. We just saw the same thing. What I saw was a guy who wanted to make himself into a heel. He wanted to make himself the villain.
Hmm.
He talked a whole lot of shit. And when it came down to it, he didn't back it up. And then you want to go come off in a wheelchair, talk blaming it on COVID. Like this
Hmm.
is 2020. Like, bro, it's 4 years. Okay.
Yeah,
We're
I mean,
off.
it worked for Biden. So
Well, he ain't Biden because he's not 84 years old,
yeah.
right? So you talked up a good game. You walked away with bronze. Take it. Take it like a man.
Hmm.
That's it. But you're embarrassed. And to save yourself from the embarrassment, you have to get wheelchaired off. And to these clowns like, this Ed Downs trainer, whatever he is, right? To people like him and all these other people that were trying to come at me, listen, don't write checks that you can't cash. And that is that simple.
Fair enough.
And even the other racers, so I went enough in this note, even the other racers too were clowning him. One of them was asked, do you see yourself as the face of track and field? And he said, no, I don't see myself as the face of track and field. Maybe that arrogant guy Noah can do it. So even amongst your peers, and then the guy beside him, I think his name was Kenneth. You could see it in his face. He was holding in laughter.
Yeah,
His own peers don't respect him. He's alienated a lot of the fans, and even just people like me who are not even fans, who are just casual observers, don't respect his conduct.
yeah.
So that's the message. Don't write checks that you can't cash. And Ed Downs, you're not a trainer, you're a scammer. All right. So
And
I
we'll
just had
end
to
off
get
on
that
that
out there,
note.
bro. Yes. All right, Jordan, it's been another great episode with you, bro.
Yes.
Fun times.
Yes, sir.
Until next time.